Welcome to the Soul Wealth Podcast. This is the place to be to set your soul free and become the person that you're meant to be. Let's manifest your goals and dreams into reality. My name is Ryan Yokome, and I've got you, spirit homie. You're live in the Soul Wealth Tribe. It's time to raise your vibe. Okay, everyone, welcome back to the Soul Wealth Podcast. I am so excited to be here today because we have another special guest, Johanna Gardner. Welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Ryan. I appreciate it.
I can't stop laughing after our conversation before we started recording. You are hilarious. For those of you listening, you're in for a real treat. I'm going to share a little bit about what Johanna does, and it's very similar to my work in the world. So all of you spiritual seekers out there, you intuitives, you empaths, you spiritual trailblazers, we're going to help you understand how to use your intuition to generate real prosperity, which is a huge part of it. So I love what you do. You're a wealth creation mentor using over now 20 years of experience in business, wealth creation, Reiki, and other energy work / intuitive arts to help empathic entrepreneurs create true wealth in their businesses and their lives. And you do something really, really beautiful where you help people create more abundance and riches and success while having less kicking the burnout, less stress, less overwhelm, less exhaustion, and really connecting to their higher selves. So I am so excited to jam with you. How are you today?
I'm totally awesome. Yeah, I'm really excited to be here. Thank you.
So, okay, you have some really crazy stories because you have owned a hotel and you've been deep into real estate. I would just love to know like how you aligned with your path to be what you're doing today.
Good question. Well, like I said before, it's really about how I was just chasing the dollar because I thought that, all these really famous, rich people were so much happier. And that if I got a whole bunch of money, then I'd get a big happiness check in the mail. And unfortunately, during that situation of buying millions of dollars worth of real estate and plus 98 mortgage payments, and a hotel, I just had a whole bunch of heartache, right? There was a lot of drama in my day. So I'd actually increased the amount of drama and realized that whatever, you're attracting is really what you're vibing at. And so 2008 happened, it was a crazy journey of going through that and realized that, I'm going to have to clean up my work. I'm going to clean up my vibration because whatever you're attracting, whatever's showing up in your life is really the reflection of your vibration. And so I had to just go and do a whole bunch of inner work to investigate what it is that I really wanted in my life and what wasn't then coming to my life in terms of happiness and joy. And then being able to just clean it all up, right? There's all these belief systems that prevent your vibration from being higher.
Can we talk? Well, I just wanted to say that, okay, there was something huge you said. We were talking about this before we started recording, and that's how many mortgages you carried.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it was like, oh, yeah, I just had like 100 mortgages. No big deal. Like, okay, what?
I know. When I think about it, I actually had to add them all up because, obviously going through this journey and sort of, trying to figure out what your resume is and your qualifications. And I realized, my gosh, I had 98 mortgage payments at one time.
Wow. And like, talk about, so basically like you're a driven woman, right? So you totally rocked it. You went out there and created this success. And then like we were talking, you realized that you weren't totally happy. Like, I think you said you're waiting for the happiness check to come in the mail.
Right.
Never came.
I was like, where the hell is it? Because that's what all these gurus and like rich people promise you, right? They give the illusion that that's what you're chasing after. And then you get to this place, well, especially because the real estate is sort of like known for the fastest way to become a millionaire. And of course, at 35, I was a millionaire, but I wasn't happy millionaire because I had what I realized was that my vibration was set to drama, right? I had lots of drama in my upbringing, lots of drama in my early years. And so I was just vibrating at the level of drama. And so even though money turned up, I still had drama. And so it was really being able to obviously crash and burn, because I ended up bankrupt. And realizing that, no, I have to recalculate what I'm vibrating at in order to have that outside experience come to me. And what I really wanted was just personal joy. I wanted freedom. I wanted, I had read books like, 4-Hour Work Week, or The Joy of Not Working. That's what I had been aspiring to. But because my vibration was set to drama, that's what I got. And so that's been the work that I've done over the last 10 years.
Yeah. Reversing it. Yeah. I love what you said, that the vibration was set to drama.
Yeah.
So how did you start to change that? How did you transition the vibratory rate of drama?
Because we're not, I think that's what you and I do in the world, is we're empathetic, empaths, and we can identify certain frequencies, because we can acknowledge, oh, this person is feeling grief, or this person is feeling happy, and you can differentiate between those emotions, energy and motion. And we're all made of emotion, or we're all made of energy. And so when you understand that that frequency is exactly the law of attraction, right? What you are will attract. And I had a client one time, and I have this healing modality which I used to teach, and I identified that there's 3 main soul colors. There's the reds, yellows, and blues, and they have a different personality type, and those frequencies then tell you what that person, what they're here to do in the world, and their soul's purpose, and all that stuff. And so anyway, I was doing this, and I capture it into a drawing format. I did this drawing for a client, and I said, it just seems that your energy is very angry. And I had never met this person. I teach, and I'm able to intuit what's going on with their frequency just by their name. And so I said, well, your energy is very angry. She says, no, it's not me. It's my husband. And I said, well, I didn't draw your husband. I said, I drew you. I said, would you resonate with the idea that whatever, like energy attracts like energy? And she said, well, I guess. And I said, well, your energy is kind of angry, so you might be vibrating and attracting anger in your life. And she said, oh no, I'm getting divorced. He's just miserable. I said, well, just take that in. And so she took that in, and I said, you're going to continue to attract this resonance in your life if you don't change your own frequency, and you have the power to change that. And she sat there, and she obviously cried. And then later on, she called me a couple of days later. She said, I've just called the attorney, and I've called the divorce off. I really heard you, and I'm going to give it 6 months to really work on myself, because I've been married for 38 years. It'd be silly to just throw the marriage and the garbage. And so sure enough, she turned her life around. She turned her marriage around, and she also sold $1 million worth of real estate in the next 6 months. So,
wow.
When we actually become aware of the frequency of what's going on in our energetic field, we can then change it. Right? Any addiction is like this. The first step is awareness, and so it's really about becoming aware and then making personal choices, or even just micro choices, to evolve your consciousness, to be a higher vibration, to be more positive. Because when you think a negative thought, that actually creates a negative chemical reaction within your body. So it's not just like this thought that, oh, we're just going to have positive thinking, you're actually then going to create more oxytocin in your body, and we're energy. So if you think about positive hormones racing through your body, that is then a higher frequency. And as we continually perpetuate that higher frequency, then we can actually like attracts like and have a better life.
I love your passion for this topic. It just exudes out of you. Like what drives you? Why are you so, like, I'm really curious on why you're so enthusiastic with this. Because for those of you who are listening, we're actually talking over video, so we're watching each other, and just your passion exudes.
Yeah. Well, I think the reason being is because I'm happy, right? I'm in such a higher evolved place in my life that, and I can't say that it's been like that for a long time. I suffer with depression, anxiety, and obviously going through a crazy amount of journey where, in the space of 6 months, my mother-in-law died, my sister-in-law passed away of lung cancer, my son moved, and I went bankrupt. So it was like this, and then we got divorced. And so it was all this craziness that happened. And so I know what it's like to be unhappy. I've had the school of unhappiness. And so now I want to just like be in this happy school, right? And learn what it's like to be happy. And so if I catch myself in a sort of like low vibratory state, I say, well, I can choose to be here because I've taught myself, I've learned, any kind of skill that, basketball players or pianists or whatever, you get to a certain skill level where you can fine tune your skill level to the point where when you're slipping up, where that growth edge is, that opportunity. And so I'm happy and having so much fun with life because things are just, abundant and love is in my life. I have so many beautiful friends. I have wonderful, amazing clients that I just don't even think that it's work. It's like, oh, I just get to play.
Yeah, I can relate.
I have my Wealthy Intuitives program this morning, and it's just 2 hours of just deep, intense work. But at the same time, it's like you could just see these transformations happening with it right in front of your face, and it's just that. Like one of my clients, she made so much money in the last program that we did that she's taking us all to Mexico as a celebration of her abundance growth and what's happened to her in the last few months. And it's just like, that's joy, right? That's like, oh my God, how fun is that? Right?
Yeah.
So no, I've had it. Like I kind of timed out on the unhappiness school.
Yeah. Well, good for your clients, for the growth, and for you. It's like, I think it's a really special place, the work we do. It's such a beautiful, delicate process to work with people. And I'm the same as you. When you look at the people you get to work with every day, and you're like, it's like, even what we're doing right now, to me, this isn't work. This is play, and it's create, and
Yeah.
So, okay. Do you want to jam on intuition and generating wealth and prosperity? Because I just had a few weeks ago, I had Penny Pierce, where I interviewed her. Are you familiar with Penny?
No.
She's been teaching intuition since 1977, and she created a whole movement. She's written a whole bunch of books, and so I'm really curious from your standpoint, like as an empath, how you play with intuition to create prosperity and wealth. Because I know everyone on the line, they're either listening to their intuition and not acting on it,
right,
or they're listening to their intuition and acting on it, but then maybe not fully trusting the steps and the process of life. So I'm totally curious from you, like how you use your intuition to create wealth, or how you teach it.
Absolutely. I mean, so for me, the intuition is tapping into your subconscious mind, right? And we have 40 billion bits of information that we're trying to process through our subconscious mind any 1 second, per Joe Dispenza. And and so there's an incredible amount of information in the field, what I understand as the quantum field. So when you're tapping into your intuition, it's being able to then start to feel the different frequencies that are available. And some people see them as colors, some people feel them as feelings. We have claircognizant, clairvoyance, clairsentience, and all those different skill sets help us become more intimate with different frequencies. So as we become more intimate with different frequencies, I kind of touched on it earlier, it's like you can then figure out what's a dense frequency, what is actually a lower vibrational state, and then what's a higher vibrational state. And what I believe is that as we continue on this journey of consciousness and our earth is vibrating at a higher state per the Schumann resonance, we are then graduating to more of a love frequency. And everything is then coming out of a state of high benevolence. And I truly believe that the new currency is love, right? And because when we're in a loving state, we can then be more of a collective, be more of a community, and be more benevolent with each other and help each other and love each other. So as I use my intuition and I teach other people to use their intuitive abilities, it's actually for them to be quiet inside of themselves and get to know themselves and start reading what it is that they're feeling. Are they feeling, the pit in the stomach? One of my clients called it navel intelligence. And it's like you can think something, you can feel something, but then your gut just doesn't tell you a lie, right? And so that's kind of like the start. We all have that gut instinct. Anybody, any human has the ability to go into a room and determine whether they want to go talk to one person or they're just like, I'm not ever going to talk to that person. So that's a very, very basic level of intuition. And then there's the really finite, professionals like ourselves who have gone to the very finite degree and we can kind of determine, what's the difference between an angry thought and a shameful thought. There's a real subtle difference there, and we're sensitive enough to be able to determine those. What I believe then is that if you become more intuitive and you're more connected to that, then you're going to get to your abundance faster, because you're going to be more in a vibratory state of joy. And it's not that money resides on, it's not about the money. It's about the meaning that you put towards something. So for example, if you want $1 million house, then ask yourself, what are the problems you've associated with getting the $1 million house? So if you identify the problems and you identify the emotions behind what you're saying, you're thinking it, but you're not vibratory, you're not vibrating at that level to have that like energy attract like energy. So it's like you're being able to determine how that emotional state is playing in your ability to manifest anything. And abundance is really, as Bashar says, he's like, abundance is the ability to do the thing that you want to do when you want to do it. And so you can, really tapping into it, being able to figure out where your heart is and then loving on that, and it will come to you.
Yeah. So do you think that everything is already happening at once? Like everything exists? Like when you think of the law of attraction, do we have to attract something, or is it already there and we just have to get our vibration to match the thing that already exists?
Yes, a very esoteric question. But in my current belief system, I will preface it with that. But yes, actually, we're the creators of our every experience, and we have infinite possibilities every single. There is no time per se. And so we have the illusion of separation. We have the illusion of time. We're stepping forward what we think we are, but we're actually recreating the present moment in every present moment. And so
that was really good.
Whatever is showing up is exactly how comfortable we are with the present moment. And so therefore our vibratory state is whatever is being created, because it's a reflection of our vibration. So
which is a reflection of our emotions, like you're saying.
Yes, because emotion is energy in motion, and energy has a frequency.
Yeah, got it. So, okay, so intuition, what are some ways that like we can heighten our intuition so it becomes strong to the point where we really trust it? You know, we hear it and we act on it, and we don't let so much of the fear muddle or bog us down from trusting our intuitive hunches or hits.
Exactly, absolutely. You know, I've taught students over the years to really tap into their intuitive abilities, and a lot of times it just starts with meditation, being quiet. It's a very basic.
Do you find your students resist that? Like, is there any, like, there's sometimes people I work with.
I've been teaching for 18 years, and so at the beginning it was 18 years ago it was, well, how do we fit that into our schedule? That really wasn't as present as it even is today. But because being quiet is really the start to listening, right? And listening is the power of intuition, because you're not just listening with your mind, you're listening with your heart. And your heart has an electromagnetic field of 100, up to 58 feet in diameter. It has an intelligence of its own. And it actually is for me, it's the intuitive space that allows for us to connect to or read energy, because it's way more powerful than our heads in terms of even the electromagnetic field. And we're tapping into the field and reading it, and that's how our heart actually helps us do that. So being able to then learn outside of ourselves tools, which I call the pendulum or tarot cards, or there's all kinds of other healing and tools out there that we can sort of learn about that help us. But it's really starting to be a lot quieter with the vibratory state that's externally to us, that we can start to read it. And then practicing on intuition, I say to my students, I say, it's really interesting, because right at the beginning I wanted to become intuitive. I actually, early on, it got hit in the head, was in a car accident, and had a lot of pain, and I ended up going to a Reiki master, and I said, there's some I don't know what's going on, just let me know. And so she said, oh, it looks like your third and fourth vertebrae are out. And I said, I'm sorry, but I have an x-ray to prove that, but how on earth did you know that? And she said, oh, I just see this stuff. And I said, well, I want to see, right? So like, duh, how come I can't see that stuff? And so, of course, it was a long journey, and it's so much easier these days with the energetic field being the way that it is, that people are awakening so much faster than they did 20 years ago. And so at that time, I would just imagine what was in my mailbox, and I would say, well, and it's a question of yes or no, right? So I would say, is there a bill in my mailbox? And I would feel into my body, and I would say, and I would feel a yes or a no. And a yes was much higher in the body, and then a no was much lower in the body. And that's how I determined my ability to determine a yes or no. And everything is a yes or no. Even the computers, they're all 0 and 1s. Everything that we're doing digitally is just a 0 or 1. And so everything intuitively can be broken down to the yes or no basis. So say, and it's all about questions, right questions. So if I say, is there a bill in my mailbox? Yes. Oh, crap. Right? So then I go, okay, fine, get over that. And then I go, okay, is it less than $100 or is it more than $100? Right? And so then I'm going a yes or no. Well, it's more than $100, darn it. And then I go, okay, it's is it $120 or, 100? And so I would just continue on that vein of yes and no and figure out, oh, there's a bill in my mailbox for about approximately $110. And then I would go to my mailbox, and then of course there was this bill. but what I was doing was practicing that. Now, what I will say for early beginners, I wouldn't necessarily recommend, that kind of practice, because it's very psychic orientated and there's no emotion in it. The envelope and the bill isn't actually creating any emotion. I'm much more empathetic. I'm a different type of psychic. Well, and so some people have really, really intense psychic skills, and I'm much more of a reader of energy. And so for me, I find that I have to have some sort of emotional connection to be able to read the intuitive next path. So I have to have something I'm much more orientated towards people and their emotions.
And emotions.
And that's my expertise.
I love
there's
that.
There's lots of different levels of what you call intuition, and there's just like a whole field in there.
Well, what's funny is my mom is, she's into spirituality and personal growth, and she's gotten more involved as she's gotten older. And the other day I sent her a text, because I always check to see if it's a good time to call. So I sent her a text and I said, is it okay time to give you a quick call and to say hi? And she goes, yeah, I'm free. So I give her a call and she answers the phone and she goes, I already knew you were going to text me. I swear my psychic powers are going to another level. You're so funny.
As we become more, and in fact, that's a very, very high statistics, even scientifically, that we are able to telepathically communicate, and we can sense somebody watching us, and there's a high percentage, even non-psychics or non-intuitives, they figure out, oh my gosh, I was just going to call you. Duh. We're all connected.
So have you ever dealt with, like we have something that we run called the School of Soul Wealth. And even all my private clients that I work with, I like yours. What was it? The School of Unhappiness that you were like done with?
So done.
And, everyone that I work with, they're all very spiritually gifted and talented. And I wonder if you ever worked with people who know they're intuitive and they have these gifts, but they don't allow others to know that they have that gift. Like the one woman you went and worked with, she said, your vertebrae, this is out. And she's just like, I don't know, I just know how to do this. Like what I'm learning more and more is the more I get to know people in public that I didn't think they had these really crazy spiritual psychic gifts. They do, but I would have not known that. And even myself, like I don't go walking around in public letting people know, like, you know what I mean? Like, is that something that you've seen with people where they are in the spiritual closet, is what I say?
Absolutely. People are coming out of the closet, let me just say, though. And even myself, I was very behind the scenes, and it's definitely a process of a survival mechanism, because we have, if you believe in past lives, we have a memory of being persecuted and or persecuting those who have gone beyond the boundaries of what per se was a religious organization. And so there's this communal agreement that you just don't talk about that particular thing, and if you do, you may be excommunicated. And the worst thing, obviously, for any human being is to be taken out of their tribe. It is literally like facing death. So I'm very, very sensitive to the acknowledgement that if people are breaking chains, they're breaking boundaries, they're breaking belief systems from their parents, their mother or father, anything that is related to their tribal community and that's keeping them it's alive, the body will automatically react and respond. And so it will then generate an incredible amount of adrenaline. And of course, adrenaline will say, oh my gosh, I'm in fear. And that's why a lot of sensitives right now are feeling this shift where, oh my gosh, I might have these skills. I might want to come out of the closet, but they're having then to make peace with all these belief systems that are creating this crazy fight or flight response within their body. And so they're I had one lady, we were on a mastermind, and of course it was supposed to be a business mastermind, and we were just all chatting and everything and blah, 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 blah. And this beautiful lady, she's been a psychologist for the last 13 years. That was her identity. And so, we're just laughing. And of course I'm, a lot more free with my communication at these days. And I'm like, oh, but you're a medium. And you should have seen the face I got. And it's like a year and a half later. And the irony is she's still upset with me. However, the thing that she followed up with was here's what she said. She's like, well, I mean, I don't really resonate with that. But sometimes, I'm walking down the street and I kind of get this weird sensation that somebody's talking to me, and I get these visuals of maybe this person, and then I get this message, and then I'm talking to my husband, and somehow that message that I got earlier is relevant to the conversation I'm having in this moment, and I'm like,
that's just your dead great grandfather talking to you.
It was just like, she didn't like the label of medium, right? And so therefore her visceral reaction was, hell no, I'm not. And so a lot of times, I believe we're all psychic. I believe that we're all intuitive.
I agree with that too. Yeah.
Consciousness. Computers can't feel that. We're getting to a place in human consciousness where we're going to have to expose our feelings, right? Because these quantum computers are just going to take over the intelligence of where we're going in the world, and they'll just be so fast and so prolific that unless we identify value with emotion, with feeling, with benevolence, the human race might not necessarily be in a happy place, so it's being able, that is a very valuable skill. And I think that there's a reason why so many of us are. That's
so funny that you call it, you're a medium. I have the same thing. You could just pick up, like you see through the veil. Well, what's interesting is, and definitely like we're waking up. I think for, at least for what I do, I don't think that people would be as open and receptive for what I coach and help people with like 50 years ago as they would be today. So consciousness is increasing. What I find so fascinating though is like, and it is growing and it is rising, and we are living more in love, and people are definitely waking up. There's an accelerated spiritual growth phase we're in. What I find so interesting though is how quickly technology is increasing, but how freaking slow it takes us to even be kind to another person or to ourselves. It's like,
I will agree with you, to ourselves. Absolutely. Sometimes that's absolutely the hardest thing, right? Is just to love on ourselves and have compassion for all that we're going through and all the journeys. And it is, it is a journey of rising our consciousness. But I will, because I've been on this path for 20 years, I can see that it's, I mean, even 2012, obviously that was a big marker.
That was the flip.
In our time frame. But even I mean, every day I'm writing to my friend, to my girlfriend, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's another day of up leveling.
Well, you feel it too, right? It's just like, goodness, it's super. Right?
And Abraham, if you're familiar with Abraham Hicks and Esther Hicks, and I'm sure a law of attraction folks are in that regard. She's, he said, well, if you're just walking along the street and you hit a tree, it's no big deal, right? But if you're, racing past the tree and you accidentally hit it, you're going to get whacked around the head. And the thing is that if you equate that to vibratory state, the frequency of and the speed at which we're moving these days, it's like we're moving really fast. So little things in the past that used to kind of like whatever, it's no big deal, or wouldn't have even noticed it, all of a sudden has become a huge deal where you're like, that person really triggered me. And I was listening to Matt Kahn the other day, and he said, you can really determine the level of your consciousness by determining how aggravated you get on a consistent or a non-consistent basis. So what are you being aggravated by? I remember years ago, I'd get aggravated by, somebody in the car, or you get cut off, or, whatever. These things don't even faze me. And it's only when I'm in the car with somebody else and they're getting like road rage, I'm like, wow, I haven't witnessed that in so many years. Like, it doesn't bother me. However, if there's a little tiny tweak in my matrix, in my system, where I'm getting aggravated at something, that thing can, you have to really work it, massage it, and like love on it. And it's all about integration. It's not like, oh, let's just take that out and throw it away. No, it's about bringing those two things together, because the fear is trying to keep you safe.
Yeah. When I went to Sedona, I don't know if you've been to Sedona, Arizona.
Oh, I love Sedona. It's one of my favorite places.
It's beautiful, right? I honestly think it's one of the best places that I visited to do emotional healing work. It is just so clearing and cleansing, and the vortexes. And what I've noticed is like the people I work with, is their intuition heightens way higher the more they do the work, the emotional work, and they do the healing on the triggers. And it's like it clears them out to hear the downloads.
It's like a window, you're just kind of like cleaning the face of the window, and then all of a sudden you look through it and you go, oh, I can see.
Yeah, that's a great analogy.
All the dirt is bogging up whatever you're just seeing it through that lens. And then all of a sudden you do some clearing work, you do some healing, and you get a nice, and you're like, oh my gosh, is this what the world looks like? Really?
It's like totally different. Okay, I have 3 questions for you. I know we're like at the top of our time. Okay, first question, because I can see your background in your beautiful home. What is one of your favorite crystals to work with?
Oh my gosh, you're going to ask me a crystal question. It's interesting because I just recently started doing grids, and grids are, I just really didn't like, I don't know why it's, some people are really crystal people and some people, and I was just like, not doing it. And then all of a sudden I put, the request for, $4,000 in this grid, because I was like, oh, whatever. Well, $4,000 showed up pretty fast, and I was like, wow, this is cool. And then I did it. I was like, well, let's just $10,000, that would be cool. And sure enough, $10,000 turned up. Well, I was just like, oh, this is funny, right? This is ridiculous. Let me just test it really, like, I'm $45,000, And sure enough, it was like, bam, it was crazy. I got some refunds. I got, some really high-end clients. It was just amazing. So I am into crystals now.
So you wait.
I'm a believer.
So you have all from the crystal grid.
Yeah, I think because if I have to pick one, the rose quartz is probably my favorite. It's a beautiful, loving quartz. The rose and the love energy, and so I just probably picked that one if I had to. But they're all
those are great. Those are great. It's a great story. And then I wanted to ask you, because you mentioned a bunch of really great thought leaders and authors. Is like, what is one of the books you're reading right now?
Oh my goodness, you're going to put me on the spot. I knew I was reading Joe Dispenza's book, The Practice of Being Yourself, or I can't remember the total title. And I love Joe Dispenza. And I admittedly listened to a lot of YouTube videos.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Because at this point in my life, I don't want to spend 8 to 10 hours on a computer, and I want a lot of freedom. I want a lot of space in my life, and being able to just listen to thought leaders like Matt Kahn's one of my favorite, Kryon, Bashar, Abraham Hicks. There's some really
hook me up with all of that.
Yeah, there's some really beautiful leaders out there. That Benito, he's amazing. There's just some really beautiful, kind memories of or just you're remembering the consciousness and raising your consciousness. And there's so much more information out there today. And you can see all these people coming out of the closet and these really, really powerful intuitives. And they're channeling all this amazing information. There's the higher self channel, and there's just all this lovely knowledge, and it's fresh and it's daily. Whereas, and we really need that daily support these days because, it's hitting us on a regular basis. And some of those nuggets of change and of consciousness and the agitation sometimes gets a little beyond our capability. And we really need to be able to lean into either professionals and or YouTube is really fun.
Yeah, YouTube is a great resource. Awesome resource. Cool. And the last question I wanted to ask is, for anyone who's listening to this that wants to work with you or go deeper with you, what's the best place for them to connect with you?
Yeah, well, I have my website, which is creativeenergyhealing.com. So that's a resource to learn about me, see videos, see my face. And then, of course, Facebook. I'm always on Messenger all the time. And they can find me at facebook.com/Coach Johanna. It's Coach JOHANNA. So,
Awesome. Yeah. Was there any last words you want to share with all of our audience listening?
Gosh, it's really about loving yourself enough to take the time to just go into the inner places of yourself. Imagine that you have a house and there are some doors that you just don't go and visit. And that those are the places that will, if you visit them and you really go into some of those areas of your life that are dragging you down, that you can actually put light back into your house and put light into your world. And then like energy attracts like energy, and you'll create magic. I mean, there's just so many miracles available for every one of us right now. So I wish them all amazing abundance.
Johanna, you are so sweet. I feel like, so everyone knows, this is the first time we're meeting. We're meeting obviously online. It's the first time. And I feel like I've known you for a long, long time. Just very comfortable. You have great energy. So thank you for coming on the Soul Wealth podcast.
Oh my gosh, what a pleasure. I know, I feel the same way. It's mutual, right? It's like soul brother and sister. We're like,
yeah.
Long time no see.
That's what happens when you follow your intuition, right? So thank you for being on. Thank you for everyone for tuning in. And we will see you guys on next week's episode. New episodes every Monday. And please subscribe, rate, and share the Soul Wealth podcast. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you for listening to the Soul Wealth podcast. Come join me and thousands of spirit rebels in our I Am Worthy community and take the free 5-day I Am Worthy challenge. It's time to raise your money vibes and charge your worth. Visit RyanYokome.com/worthy. Please remember to rate, comment, and share the Soul Wealth podcast. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you on the next episode.